Hello and welcome to the 19th episode of Born in Quarantine. So far we've talked about a lot of different things on this show. For example, we've talked about movies and we talked about games. We are going to talk about the movies, the game. I have to tell you, it is incredibly satisfying to be sitting in front of a camera. I never knew how much I missed it until I needed to do last episode, which if you haven't, please check it out. It's about the man who killed Don Quixote. And I realized how much I need my hands to define movement. We are going very basic, by the way, because today I have Coca-Cola in my Batman mug, and that means throughout this video somewhere I am going to burp, and I'll edit it out when I am editing this video. Unless it's a funny burp, then I'll leave it in. Let us go to the land before time. 2005. I was around 8 years old at the time. That's all I know from 2005. I should have done my research and set some examples, but yeah. Well, the biggest thing is the movies was published. A video game by Lionhead Studios and the man that we'll discuss in length, Peter Molyneux. They say the highway to hell is paved using Peter Molyneux's broken dreams. And this game managed to, influence a very young Ali and make him sort of get more into storytelling. But without further ado, let's talk about the game. What is the movies? This is a stupid idea. It's a toy that I found, I don't know from who, and it fits my pinky. Have you done that mind exercise of if you are stranded in an island, what would you bring with yourself? And if I wanted to say that I was stranded on an island and I need to bring like 5 video games with me to play for eternity, what games would I choose? Well, I would definitely choose Skyrim, which I love, and I know I'm a basic gamer, I'm not a hardcore gamer. I would choose Fallout New Vegas while we are talking about Bethesda stuff, though it's Obsidian. Good game, nevertheless. I would choose The Sims 2, the best Sims. I'd probably also choose Age of Mythology, which I've talked in length, and I'd put a link in the cards so you can go and check that out. And I definitely chose the movies. Movies, in very basic terms, is a business simulation game. You run a movie studio in Hollywood. You start from 1920s and go forward. To be honest, I never reached the end. I know there must be an end for it, but I never reached it. I will say why in a bit. And you have to take care of all the different stuff in the studio, like your stars, your directors, your extras, the studio lot, the prestige of the studio, the sets, the novelty value of your movies, the technology you can research. It's a lot. And it is very detailed and very interesting. There are so many little things that usually in games like this just gets brushed away. But here they play such vital roles, like the relationship between your stars, the mood that can make a movie better. There is an award ceremony that is like the Oscars, and you either get an award by being the top at the charts. There is charts. Or and you'll get it by being the most prestigious studio. There are so many different categories that I just love this game for all of those little details. The fashion of each era is different, and your stars need to sort of dress for the decade. Like in the 30s, you can't have them wear 20s clothes. They feel self-conscious and their image comes down. They get jealous if you pay their other friends more than them. It's a great system. And it's all thanks to Peter Molyneux. I think there is no way we are going to not talk about him. I am not a big gamer, that's for sure. I mean, I wouldn't even consider myself a gamer in most areas. I've played games, I've enjoyed games, but I'm not a gamer. For the longest time, I didn't know we are supposed to don't like Peter Molyneux games, because some of my favorite games of all times were made by him. I loved, and I do mean loved, Black and White 2. It's one of the best strategy games I've ever played, and again, all of those tiny details. I also love Fable 3, which is a game that, again, we are supposedly need to hate. Why, I don't know, but I liked it. I liked it very much. Again, I know there are problems with it. To this day, Fable 3 is the only game that asks for F1, 2, and 3 to be vital gameplay buttons on the keyboard. Who does that? But I loved Peter Molyneux and I loved Lionhead Studios. I was very sad when Microsoft sort of shut them down. They made good games, in my opinion. But when I read a little bit about it and I realized, what did Peter Molyneux do? I have to say I can see why people really don't like the guy. Over-promising stuff. That is the biggest problem he had. He had dreams and he had ambitions. The problem was he had no know-how or idea how to implement those dreams and ambitions. So they become downright lies. So I went into playing the games without knowing who Peter Molyneux is or what Lionhead Studios is. And I loved almost all of the games I played. I haven't played Fable 2 because it's an exclusive and I don't have a console. But I've played Black and White 1 and Fable Anniversary, and I love them. They are very fun. And they all have those tiny details that I think only Peter Molyneux cares about. In Fable 3, there is this thing that when you marry a girl and you don't visit them a lot, and you put them in a city that is under attack, there is a chance your spouse might die. And when you see that pop up, I am swearing on whatever you put as holy. It broke my heart. It's the sort of thing that I kind of wish Skyrim did. Now, there is probably a mod for that, but there's a mod for anything in Skyrim. Now, back to the movies. There isn't a story because it's a simulation game, so the story is basically what you made the story to be. But if you want a very basic frame, it's 1920s, you are given a plot of land in Hollywood, and you own a movie studios. Now, throughout the years, stuff happened, like World War II or the television. And, I need to explain this. There are 5 different genres in the movies. There is the action, romance, comedy, sci-fi, and horror. And throughout the years, the genre interest sort of changes based on the events. For example, in 1940s, action really becomes prominent because there's a war going on and you need to make action movies. But how does one make a movie in the movies? Probably the biggest selling point of this game is the fact that you own a movie studio, and it actually does feel like you own a movie studio. You make movies, you need to take care of your finances, you need to, well, appease the public while in the same time appease the critics, though in this case they are very in line. And there is this window that I love that tells you how much time it took to make this movie and how much money you spent on it. And when you don't make it back, it hurts. It hurts. It's sort of like the Warner Brothers simulator. You put a lot of money into making a piece of shit and nobody watches it, and it's sad. It's sad. Now, the way you make a movie is either you have a bunch of script writers, which as a writer myself, the lack of respect for them is very accurate. You put them in a pool, they write you a script at the beginning, and then you assign directors and actors and extras and crew, and they go and make this movie scene by scene. That is one of the most interesting things that when I first played this game, and I was in middle school, I think, it blew my mind. Look at this. These people are making movies, and there is this director. Action, cut, that's a wrap, thank you. So each movie takes time and takes money, unless you're playing a sandbox game, and it's a good way, but come on, it doesn't count. And the movie's success or the star power of it is based on a lot of different factors. First, the novelty value. You can't use the same sets or the same stars over and over and over again, or the same genre over and over again. There's the crew experience. You know, how experienced is your crew? That makes a huge part. The stars' moods, the genre fit. For example, the aging stars are better suited for horror than romance. And as much as I want to say this is a simplistic view of movies, the fact is many of the studio systems, I do believe, still abide by these rules. So then there is the relationship between the stars. For example, if you're making the romance movie with two leads, and the two leads have a good relationship outside of the movie, there is a high chance that they give a better performance. So is the stars' moods. If they have a good trailer, oh my god, that is so annoying, by the way. They want a trailer. Why do they want a trailer? Who knows? Or the salary, or later in the game they need assistance. I'm telling you, Peter Molyneux pays a lot of attention to those little details. So you basically need to keep your stars happy, well paid, and pampered, but they also gather stress when working on a movie, and you need to de-stress them by either having them interact with a few ornaments, or the quicker way, send them to the bar or send them to the restaurant. In that case, there is a chance they might get addicted to alcohol or food. You need to put them in the rehab. There is a lot of moving pieces in this game, and that is actually the biggest problem. I love playing the movies. It's one of my favorite games, but it's a phase thing. Like, I go in a phase, I play the game for 10-12 hours, I save it, and I will never go back to that save. Whenever I want to play movies, I just start a new game. Because there are so many moving pieces to this puzzle, and there are so many things you need to remember, and the game isn't very intuitive. It's a problem with Peter Molyneux in general. He's not a very intuitive guy. He's actually very counterintuitive. So you need to be in the moment and say, okay, this star is this. It has this salary. It's in this trailer. It's a good fit for romance. I'm bringing him up, for example, to be an action star who also does romance. Or this director is best suited for comedies. That by the time you're done and you leave and you come back, for example, the next week, I doubt you'll be going back to your old save, because you're out of that mindset, and unless you spend the first 10 minutes just remembering and gathering information on what the studio is doing, it's not going to be very pleasant. So my game has like 1 billion different saves for different studios, some of them very successful, I'm telling you. For example, for a long time, I think from 1950s to 1970s in one of my games. I don't know which one. I had the best studio. The top 5 stars were all in my studio, and the top 10 movies were all made by my studio. So I was like MGM during the golden age of musicals. That's a joke no one's going to get. God damn it. Well, so that is the biggest problem of the game in my opinion. But as I said, the biggest thing in the movies is making movies, and somewhere through the game you'll get access to custom scenarios and you're able to make your own movies, which is very simplistic. You just choose from an array of scenes and patch them together. But I'm telling you, it's a great tool to let go of your imagination, and even if you're me and you're into role playing a lot, you can even play that sort of studio manager game that that's in your head. It doesn't actually happen in the game. That, oh, this actor and this actress are in a relationship, so let's put them in a romance movie, but the audience won't suspect them to appear in an action movie about World War II where they play Nazis. I am very stupid, but this is fun, and the movies actually lets you do it. And if the actors are in a good genre fit and they have the experience and they have the good relationship, it actually makes money. So these videos usually tend to have 3 chapters. I know some episodes have more and some have less. I doubt I have an episode where it has 2 chapters, but yeah, this is the 3rd one. To be honest, I really don't have much else to say. This is a good game and I highly recommend it. There is not much of a story unless you create one for yourself. It's a management game. If you like management games and you love movies like I do, it's going to be a good experience in my opinion. There is a DLC, Stunts and Effects, which added stunts, which is a good mechanic, by the way, a very good mechanic in tune with the actual game. It's a DLC that is definitely worth the price of admission. But the biggest thing that I wanted to do is share my creation. I'm going to show you one of the movies that I've made in the game. So here you go, and just remember, I'm a genius. Well, I hope that was a satisfactory experience, and I'll await my Oscar for that amazing movie that I just showed you. But yeah, the movies, it's an amazing game. I highly recommend it, even though I know it's not for everyone. It's not like Age of Mythology. I can't just say, go and play it, even if you don't like strategy games. It might draw you in. It's not like Stronghold where I can say, well, definitely give it a chance. It is going to help you get into strategy games. If you don't like business simulation games, if you don't like movies, if you don't like simulation games in general, you're not going to love the movies. It's not the best of its kind. It's a pinnacle in my opinion, but it's not the best of its kind. But it's one of those games that in my opinion is very unique. I want more games like this, which means bad news for me because this is not the direction the gaming industry is going, and people like me probably will not have a lot of games to play with very soon. But well, such is life. Actually, I have a favor to ask, because the last time I talked about Stronghold, way back, actually I'm going to put a link to that too. Someone informed me that there is a new Stronghold game coming, which I didn't know, and that's a good thing, and thank you, this user. So one of the good things about YouTube, it is a community, and if you know any games like the movies, if you've played it and you found other games, I know there are a lot of other simulation and business tycoon games I've played a lot. I've played Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, another one of my favorite games. I've played Prison Architect, and it's a buggy mess. Come on, why did you do this? I have like 80 empty cells for criminally insane people, but you don't send them to me. What the fuck is going on? And I've played like Game Dev Tycoon. And so yeah, if you know any other games in that genre, I'll definitely recommend them, no matter how old. As you probably noticed, I am much more comfortable in an older era. I mean, my favorite games are Age of Mythology, Skyrim, and the movies, and none of them have groundbreaking graphics. So yeah, it was so good sitting in front of a camera. There is also probably some remaining red spots, but I'm hoping the distance between me and the camera just masks it and the light. But if you see the red spots, I am so sorry. It doesn't go away. And if that worked, if this, and if that, my computer worked, I'll see you again next week. Thank you.